Good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having a lovely time. I'm Aristotle Full Throttle. You're watching the Aristotle Full Throttle program. If that's what you were aiming to do, you have succeeded. Welcome. We're going to trickle in. Today's topic is, did Disney kill Star Wars? Is Star Wars a dead product? Do we even like Star Wars anymore? What is even a Star War? Can we do Star Wars anymore? There's a Mandalorian. I like the Mandalorian. It's on Disney Plus. But is Star Wars going to be a future movie franchise? Will there be further trilogies? Will there be more sequels to the Star Wars movies? Probably. What are they going to do? Rian Johnson is still developing his trilogy. His independent Star Wars trilogy that supposedly takes place in the New Republic. Those dudes that were doing Game of Thrones, they got fired. Star Wars has fired more Star Wars directors. Disney has fired more Star Wars directors than they've hired. I don't even know how that's mathematically possible. What's up, Angie? How are you? Good afternoon. We're just trickling in. As we do every day here on Aristotle Full Throttle, is once we arrive, we like the video. If we're watching on Twitch, if we're watching on YouTube, if we're watching on anything, if we're watching on Instagram right now, like Dark Trey Barton, tap the screen. It does like hearts. They float up into the air. And then I collect them, and it actually supplies my body with energy. So if you do that, I can survive. This is an interactive game. This is kind of like a Black Mirror episode. Basically, your likes keep me alive physically, or else I'll just die. So thank you for your support physically. I joke about health, but I hope you guys are being safe. I hope you're maintaining a social distance. These people in America, we're just like learning that Americans just aren't pandemic ready. We're learning that we're bad at pandemicking. So what can we do? Well, I'm talking to you and me, you and I, both can do the things that we need to do to stay safe and keep the people around us personally safe. And we can also think about that and understand the value in that. You and I can do that. We could say, hey, my behavior can affect other people. And in a pandemic that is airborne, my behavior could potentially spread a deadly disease, a deadly virus. So, I don't know what that means to you. Maybe you're like, I like to live on the wild side. Maybe I'll just go out there and I'll just I'll just inhale all the germs and exhale all the germs and hopefully I won't die. Maybe I will. Who knows? Screw it. We're playing some Russian roulette. Maybe you're that person. So in the event that you are that person, I am going to be the person who stays away from you. So that's the only thing I can do. That's all I have to say. Guys, and if you are watching on several different platforms, I'm going to drop the Discord server on the platforms there. I'd like to say hello to one of my latest Patreon subscribers. Lori3040 has become one of the latest Patreon supporters, and I hope you guys can find it in your wallet to do that maybe at some point. You don't have to. It's just keeps my heart beating, keeps my heart alive, along with the tapping on the screen and the likes. Actually, it just keeps the lights on and keeps my coffee mug full, and I appreciate that. I only mention that because I realize I forget to mention that a lot. And there's no work right now. 98.3%. It's almost like a body temperature. 98.3% of productions in Los Angeles are closed. And that's usually my bread and butter. I usually go out for auditions, and every now and then I get a commercial that I get to be in, and I get to do something silly or stupid. And so that's not happening right now. Neither is my main gig or steadier gig, which is set photography. As a photographer, there's just no sets happening right now. So I ask you, patreon.com/AristotleFullThrottle, if you are so inclined. I do appreciate it. I'd also like to thank Jen A, spouse of Jake A. Jen A, I have an exciting announcement, she's like whittling down some of these episodes, some of these hour-long episodes, into just sort of the highlight reels of each episode, or some of the episodes of the Aristotle Full Throttle program. And I'm going to be putting those up as proper videos on the channel, so you guys can watch those on the channel. If you just want the bite-sized version, maybe a week later or so. If you want the bite-sized version of Aristotle Full Throttle's Fro, y'all can go to AristotleFullThrottle.com, sign up, like the videos. What do you mean did? Corona COVID? I don't know what you mean by that. You have to be more specific, Corona COVID. That what you're referring to is from 30 seconds ago, and my attention span is 22 seconds long. It could be anything. As far as I know, this pandemic has been lasting more than 22 seconds. So therefore, I can't remember the beginning of it. Thank you. I have 23 followers on. That's awesome. How amazing is that? I didn't realize that I had that many followers. I'm excited about that. Thank you guys. Wow. This is really turning into something, isn't it? Let's start with the hot topics for today, guys. We got a regular thing going on here. Today's topic, main topic later, and we'll get to it, is did Disney kill Star Wars? Yes. But I mean, rhetorically speaking, let's talk about it. Did Disney and Kathleen Kennedy destroy the movie franchise of Star Wars? Yes, but we'll discuss it. We'll have a talk about it. But the answer is yes, definitely. But we'll talk about it. Oh, Angie emoji game on point. Okay, let's check this out. Benedict, what's Benedict trending for? I don't understand. That's just a name. Benedict Arnold. Henry Cavill. Did you guys see Henry Cavill building a computer? I don't know. It's kind of a treat for everybody, really. If you're into Henry Cavill in that you like the way he looks and the way he builds things, you've got a treat. If you like the DC Comics, you're like Superman likes computers. I like that. There's a treat for you. I recommend. Apparently, the internet is on fire with Henry Cavill peeling plastic off of a hard drive. It's pretty compelling, actually. I mean, it sounds dull and boring, but it's actually a treat for everyone. Superman builds a computer. Because that's what we got to do. It just kind of shows you the state of the world right now. It's like everybody's home, nobody's doing it. I'm doing this. Henry Cavill's building a computer. What are we up to, everybody? This is what we're up to. We're about up to here. One of the funny things is those are some of the things I like to say. I should do more of those TikToks where I get around questions. People are like, what are you up to? I'd say, I'm up to about here. How tall are you? About yay high. I should do the tall ones. I did the ethnic ones last couple weeks ago. I should do the... How tall are you? I'm 5'15". How's the weather up there? Great. How's the sewage down there? No, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I used to be asked, how's the weather up there a lot. I was like, oh, I get it, because I'm tall. Hello, Candyland. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Noah, Mediocre, Veronica. I'll wave to y'all on Instagrams. I'll push the wave buttons. I'm allowed to do these. It allows me to wave at you. Virtually. I virtually wave. I virtually wave in your direction. Ooh, Sebastian Bach is trending in California. Not Johann Sebastian Bach. Nohann Sebastian Bach. The dude from Skid Row, I guess, yeah. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this is Dr. Baby Yoda Fauci. You know, I've been noticing that the Empire has been trying to trash my reputation lately and tell me that I'm wrong about things. Listen, I can only tell you the future, unclear the future is.
okay? I can only predict what I think might happen. The prophecy might be, okay? And the prophecy is wear a damn mask, keep a social distance, and wash your damn hands. I mean, come on. Ay, Dios mío. Oh, guys, did you see that picture that the president took? The president of Earth took with the Goya beans? Oh my gosh, what is he trying to do here? I think there's a bigger fish to fry right now. And that Goya beans, what's he doing? Well, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to exile myself to a planet like Dagobah or Aktu or something like that just to get away from y'all, because you're getting too close to one another. You guys are partying. I don't understand. Anyway, it's not for me to understand. It's for, I guess this is the natural evolution of things. Thank you, Darwin.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Baby Yoda Fauci. Thursday thoughts, guys. Do you have any Thursday thoughts? That's trending. Vic. Death Santis. Wait a minute. Death Santis. Is that because Ron DeSantis, the governor of California, was like, hey, everybody, let's open up. Let's just open up. Let's go back to science, numbers. All right. Sure. You're giving me science. You're giving me numbers. You're telling me guidelines on how to open up with an airborne virus that is killing people. Yeah, but, you know, I think we should just open up. What do you think about that? This is science. Science is like,
we will follow the numbers and follow the projected patterns of this virus. We will look at the data and analyze it and then draw our conclusions based on actual data.
Ron DeSantis is like, yeah, but like, don't you just want to open up?
We will open up according to what the data tells us, because science and math and viruses do not care about what you want.
Yeah, but it would be great if we just opened up, right? So they did that. Florida did that, and guess what? 13,000 cases, positive cases yesterday. The day before was 10,000 cases, and the day before that was like 4,000. It's going up because science says if you open up, this is what will happen, and it predicts it. Here's the thing. I would like everybody to be at least respectful to the fact that there are people like Dr. Fauci who have been a scientist working on pandemics since 1980, have been tracking, he's been an epidemiologist tracking illnesses and stuff for decades, for 6 presidents, Republican and Democrat, saying, here are the numbers, here are how the numbers work. If we want to get over this pandemic, let's respect the numbers, because these things do not behave according to your politics. So Death Santis is trending right now, I guess. He's responsible for lots of deaths. When you're the governor and you decide to tell people that it's fine to go back, I mean, who else are you going to blame? Oh, they're trying to blame Fauci for being wrong. Disney opened up, yes. Bringing it back to the topic of the day, Disney. What's up, Jimmy James Cordova? We're talking about your favorite, Star Wars. Did Disney kill Star Wars? Now, I think, I've been kind of reading about this and watching videos on this. I say reading, but I've been reading videos on YouTube about this. And it's really interesting because it's true. Disney sort of made Star Wars try to cater to the general public way more than it did try to cater to the actual supporters of, like, the 40-year-long supporters of Disney, of Star Wars. Disney decided, hey, we're going to make these movies palatable, or at least we're going to try to gear this to the average moviegoer, or at least the pedestrian moviegoer, and say, you know, you don't have to just be a Star Wars fan. You can also just be a movie fan, and then you'll like these new movies that Disney is trying to put out. I think the balance they had on that was wrong. I think they should have leaned a little bit more toward the lore of Star Wars instead of like, remember this from Star Wars? Remember that from Star Wars? Remember this from Star Wars? Hey guys, remember this from Star Wars? We're going to put it all in a box and shake it up. Even The Mandalorian relies on the fact that we love Yoda, so they made a baby Yoda. I like The Mandalorian. However, there's certain things about Star Wars that you can create an entire new world with. You don't have to keep relying on the things we already know. Let's see. Martin Scorsese said Marvel movies are more the theme parks rather than cinema. That's how I feel about the more recent Star Wars films. Yes, Candyland. I agree with you on that. Hey, Tatiana. I would say that's true. It feels more like way more... Because I have friends who even have admitted this to me. They've admitted this to me in confidence. I won't divulge their names. But I'll tell you, they were like, I just like the pew-pew. I just like space adventure. I just like that. And I'm like, that's cool. But I feel like there's so many movies that are just space adventures. There are so many. Star Wars is a particular brand. It's a particular lore. Lore. It's a particular mythology, mythos. There's a thing going on with Star Wars that is unique. Everything else tries to capitalize on being pew, 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 space. But Star Wars always capitalized on like that family drama, the Force, the weaponry, the special effects, the characters we actually like. It all relied on this, the space western. But other movies go, hey, what if we put ships in space? All of that aesthetic was created in the brain of Star Wars, or at least synthesized in such a way to create Star Wars. George Lucas created a genius thing with all of the things that influenced him. So when Disney went back to do Star Wars, I feel like they took all of the derivative stuff that came after Star Wars and just turned it into kind of a generic derivative thing. It's not a continuation, it's a derivative, and I don't like it as much. I do like the Force Awakens music. I listen to Rey's theme all the time. It's really cool. But I do like the Force Awakens. I remember enjoying that, but I was like, after I watched the Force Awakens, I was like, I enjoyed that. I can't wait until the next movie, because then I can really get into it, since the Force Awakens was just a rehash of A New Hope. So I liked it, but I can't wait till now we get to the meat of the story. And then we got to The Last Jedi, and I was like, wow, that really felt like a final story, final chapter. What can they do in Episode 9? They can literally make Episode 9 a hinge point for the future of Star Wars, and also simultaneously encapsulate and provide closure for the first 9 or 8 films. So I thought Episode 9 was a perfect opportunity for the producers, for the writers, to create a hinging point for the whole Star Wars. End the Skywalker saga and then begin a new deal. Like, that would have been the perfect idea, because I felt like The Last Jedi, or at least Rian Johnson's imagination, brought us to like a really good feeling of closure. So they could have started with the new, just pushed the whole trajectory of Star Wars in a whole new direction with Episode 9, but they biffed it. Now, Jimmy James says they did make new line merchandise that George was not. They did make a new line of merchandise that George was not in, my opinion. That George, I think you're saying, yeah, like the new. Did they make a new line? I mean, Disney really wanted to sell toys and tickets to. They wanted to open up a whole aspect of Disney World. They saw the opportunity and they seized it. They also seized Star Wars at the same time. Eva says, I'm watching this and watching Maniac Cop. Wow, with Bruce Campbell. That's a good one. That's a good one for like silly movies. And trying to cut podcast clips for work. This is going to be interesting. Also, hi, you look nice. Oh, well, thank you. You're adorable. I appreciate you. Colleen, shut. Colleen, shut the door on your way in. Thank you for that. I hope that I'm not too distracting and that I hope that I provide a boost to your working day. Bring a cup of coffee with you. Just hang out. We're just chatting. We're just ranting about the demise of Star Wars. I mean, the revising of Star Wars. What do you guys think about that? The storytelling just fell off, says Angie. I agree with you. I feel like I like The Last Jedi. I'm not an Last Jedi apologist. I'm saying I think people don't like it because they don't like what happens in a movie. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, the argument could be, well, then you're just looking at it as a potential moviegoer. As a pedestrian moviegoer, you're not looking at it as a Star Wars fan. And I'm like, well, I'm looking at it as both, I think. I liked what they did with that. I felt like a Star Wars movie to me, and people don't like it, and they hate it with a passion. That's fine. We can have differing opinions, but I really like The Last Jedi. I think the cinematography, just so many things in that movie. The moments, guys. George Lucas created such an incredible property that has such gravitas, and there are moments in The Last Jedi, like when Luke's walking through those blast doors, that are indelible. It is one of the greatest moments in all of Star Wars. You can't take that away from The Last Jedi. You can't. Just think about the beginning of The Last Jedi when Rey meets Luke and she says, you got to come help me. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Go stare down the First Order with a laser sword? That's not going to happen. Guess what happens 2 hours later? He stares down the First Order with a laser sword. It's pretty rad. That's cool. People go, well, it was just a force projection after all. We didn't know that when it happened. That was a surprise, and it was an awesome surprise. Here's why. Luke Skywalker has always been the one who provides hope to the series. Luke Skywalker has always been the new hope. He is the one who always sacrifices himself. Always does the sacrifice play. He's not Tony Stark. He's Captain America. He will do the sacrifice play to save the team. He will go in alone, turn off his tracking system, and shoot his torpedoes into the exhaust vent of the Death Star because he knows that he's like, I'm the only one left. I got to try it. But not without the help of my buddy Han Solo. So that's why Star Wars is the greatest ever. Empire Strikes Back. You've got Luke Skywalker gives up his training to go save his friends. This is the kind of character he is. In the Return of the Jedi, he's got the drop on Darth Vader. The Emperor is like, kill your father. And he's like, no. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm a New Hope. And that's when Anakin fulfills his prophecy. Because Anakin was always the chosen one. He always was the chosen one. Anakin fulfills the prophecy and destroys the Emperor. Luke was a New Hope, but it was Anakin who was the chosen one. Fast forward to The Force Awakens. Luke's like, hey, that's his job in The Force Awakens. Luke's like, oh hey. That's his entire role in The Force Awakens. Oh hey. He's like looking out over the water. Yeah. That was his role in The Force Awakens. But in The Last Jedi, what does Luke do? He faces down the First Order with a laser sword. Like he said he wouldn't do. Because what does he do? He sacrifices himself. He makes the sacrifice play again. People don't like it. I don't know why people don't like it. Come on now. It's amazing. It's amazing. He dies as a result. Because he knew he had to create a distraction to sacrifice himself for his sister. And also not fight. Because Jedi, I think we lost the thread in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, when it was just a bunch of laser swords on the field and Geonosis fighting all the aliens. It just looked like visual noise. There was no gravity. We couldn't connect with any one character. It was just, and it was just like, I can't wait till this movie's over. That's what I thought in that moment. It's like, this is dumb. So you're just killing a bunch of bugs. I didn't like it. I like playing that world on Battlefront though. That's a fun level. Just squashing all the bugs. Some cool vehicle design in that. The Geonosins were creepy with their little clicking and stuff. But I didn't like it. I didn't like it. But Luke comes back, saves the day. That's his gig. That's his gig, guys. Why do I mention all this? Because in episode 9, we just got an explosive diarrhea of Star Wars. It's like someone ate a giant Star Wars burrito. They gorged themselves on a taco truck of Star Wars. And what did we get? We got the next morning. That's what we got. Star Wars Episode 9 is a crap fest. It's terrible. It's not a good movie. And it's got likable characters. It's got some pretty good lines. It's just a mess. But I think pedestrian filmgoers are, hey, I like it. It's got the pew pew and the blasts and the explosions and it's got the Star Wars music. It's got, look, that was Lando. Remember Lando? Lando's like, hey, everybody. I'm Lando Calrissian. Hey, everybody. Oh, it's nice to say hello to Leia for me. Remember, say hi to Leia. I'm 870 years old, and I still am cool. I was like, you should have had Lando in the episode 8. You know what they should have done at the end of episode 8 and then just ended it? When they were going to the Outer Rim, at the end of episode 8, where they were like, there's only about 12 of us left in the rebellion, in the resistance, they should have said, I know a guy at the Outer Rim who will help us. They should have just said that at the end of episode 8. And then they were referring to Lando, of course. And Lando could have picked up the phone. Hello, Leia. Oh, I remember you. Do I ever? We had 5 children together. I think they could have done something like that. You fell asleep twice watching that. What are you referring to, Kyle? K-Ferg? Are you referring to Star Wars Episode 2 when it was just... Guys, I love Star Wars because the idea of a Jedi, even in the original trilogy, was a scarce idea. It was something people talked about. It was an old time of thing. And that's part of the magic of it. The part of the magic is there were these guys a while ago, guys and gals and aliens that could control the Force. But they're not around anymore. So we got to find a new one. And they could have done that. They could have kept that going. Jimmy James Cordova. I'm going to make Jimmy James a shirt that says his phrase, which is I love Star Wars, period. I'm going to get you that shirt, Jimmy James. I love Star Wars as well. I can love it and also be critical of it. Like the country. That's, I think, what I want to promote on this show, generally speaking, is that we can talk about things in a way that is critical, but also still agree on it. we can still like Star Wars. We can still like a lot of things. There are some things in Episode 9 that I do like. There are some things, but as a movie, as a whole, it is just a mess. It's just a mess. It is There are Snokes in a vat. They walk by a vat full of Snokes, and you just go, wait a minute. This is stupid. There are moments in that movie where I just go, Rey? Is it Palpatine? I'm going to go shoot myself. Yeah, I was mad about that. I just... Why I get mad about that is because why does everything have to be a parental lineage in these movies? I know that it was really important for the Skywalker saga to be talking about parentage and lineage, but look, we already had the next generation of Skywalker, and that was Kylo Ben. We should have had Kylo Ben represent the next generation of Skywalker. The irredeemable. And he should not have been redeemed. He should have went full into the dark side and would have been interesting. It would have been interesting, right? Maybe he would have done the sacrifice play that he did. And I don't know. I know that they had their hands tied a little bit because Carrie Fisher unfortunately passed away right before that. But speaking of unfortunate demises, I mean, it's really, I've been thinking about, it's really upsetting that we've lost people like Naya Rivera and Kelly Preston and Grant Imahara. I just wanted to put another, those were like characters, people that were just enjoyable to watch on screen. And it's kind of a bummer to think about tragic losses like that. And it's really sad to think that people are dying also because they're not social distancing. I mean, they're not sitting 5-6 feet away from each other. I look at all these videos of people just dancing at parties, all rubbing up against each other on the indoors, and you go, hey, guys, this is not what social distancing is. I think people are kidding themselves into thinking that's what it is. I think people are kidding themselves when they're going, well, we hung out and we social distanced. And then you see like photo evidence of them all just like on top of each other, dancing and like spreading their germs potentially. And listen, people are dying by accident. People are dying. Grant had an aneurysm. That could happen to anybody at any time. It's really sad. Naya Rivera, the thing that breaks my heart about that story is basically the cops are saying she was having some trouble, I guess, with the current. They try to piece together the story, and she just had enough energy to put her kid on the boat, and then she got swept away in the current. And it's just amazing that she had the ability to at least save her kid in that situation, which could have been doubly tragic, which is just sad. It's just kind of amazing that they say that she probably mustered enough strength to put her kid on the boat and then got swept away, which is just unbelievable. Shai says, I didn't really grasp the hype behind Star Wars until you got older and explained the cultural context under which it was initially released. Yeah, that's the thing, is like, even I'm actually too young to know the full cultural context. I was like the second wave of it just always existing. So when I grew up, it just always existed. It was a thing that was always real. My older brothers like have a little bit better memory of maybe Empire and Jedi coming out. But when I was a kid, it just always existed. And it was cool. But my brothers were I remember the first time I watched A New Hope. I never liked that one as much as a kid because I felt there wasn't enough robots and stuff. I mean, there was plenty. But that one moves a little bit slower if you're a kid. I liked Empire Strikes Back because there was so much drama. There's carbonite, there's Darth Vader fighting, and there's like all Darth Vader's helmet is off. There's so many things that happen in Empire Strikes Back. And they just keep happening. Things just keep happening throughout that movie. And in Star Wars, when I first watched it, I remember being so young that I was like really tired that a movie came on at 8 p.m. So I was probably, it was like my bedtime, probably past my bedtime. And my older brothers, it was on TV, so it's probably several years after it came out in the theater. And my brothers kept telling me, they're like, no, stay up, stay awake. They kept telling me to stay awake because there's going to be a really cool space battle at the end. And they kept telling me this, and then I just kept kind of dozing off watching robots walking through the desert. I'm like, there's more desert? There's more robots walking through the desert? So I fell right to sleep as a kid watching Star Wars. But but that was my first watching of Star Wars, because they were like shaking me awake. No, stay up. There's going to be an amazing space battle at the end. And I never got there. I never got there as a kid. Jimmy James was born in 1983, the year that Return of the Jedi came out. I saw the re-release of Return of the Jedi when I was a kid. So apparently a few years later, they re-released it, and that's the first Star Wars I saw in the theater. And it was my brother's birthday party. My brother who told me to stay awake, get the irony of this, the same brother who told me to stay awake to watch the ending of Star Wars because of the amazing space battle. I remember sitting there watching the Ewoks blowing, like destroying the Empire and killing stormtroopers, and watching my brother doze off. It was a birthday party. His birthday is June 23rd, so it's in the middle of the summer. So there was a birthday party, there was cake and everything, and then we went to the movies. I think we went to the movie after all the cake and stuff. And my brother was like passing out. I remember him passing out during that. Going, stay awake, there's going to be a great Ewok battle at the end. I didn't know the ending. I never saw it until I saw it. Guys, if you want to join the Discord, here's the Discord link. It's on the several different platforms. Join the Discord, whatever platform you're watching on, Twitch, whatever. Like the video, like the stream. It helps the channel. It helps. Everything, every little bit counts. And if you want to support the channel, like so many of you are, you can support it on patreon.com/Aristotle Full Throttle. You could pledge like $1 a month, $2 a month, $10,000 a month. And that way, we can build the show out. We can build it out. We're going to have a guest Monday. I'm going to have Jake A, and Jen A, his spouse. They are working together to help out, support the channel. And we're going to talk about topics. I'll surprise you guys with that topic on Monday. But Jen has been so generous and kind to help whittle down some of the episodes, and I'm going to post one right after this show to like kind of a bite-sized version of the Aristotle Full Throttle show, just all the little highlights. So I'm excited about that and very grateful and thankful to her for doing that. And I hope you guys can watch and like the videos and share them, and you know, we joke here. We have a good time. We have a fun, jokey, jocular time.
These look like big, strong bear claws, don't they?
Yes. I'm trying to get a new rock biter puppet. I want a rock biter situation. Maybe I'll do this.
These look like big, strong hands.
All right. That's not working. I'll figure it out. Hey, kids. How are you today? Let's see. I gotta say, though, my least favorite 3 movies had the best costumes. Well, Padme specific. Yeah, I thought, you know what? The prequel trilogy, I think you're referring to, Shy, did have a great... It was pretty cool to see every time that Padme / Queen Amidala showed up, she was wearing something different. Whether it was she was played by her decoy, who was played by... You guys know her name. She's another actress. But Natalie Portman played Padme. And, see, me and names lately. I feel like I'm on the spot. Maybe that's why it's happening. Or my brain has holes in it. Keira Knightley. Remember Keira Knightley played the decoy for Padme? And she got blowed up. But it's cool because, yeah, every time Padme showed up, she had a different costume on, and I thought that was cool. Or Queen Amidala. I thought that was dope. You're right, yeah. Shy, good point. I think that the Phantom Menace has tons of redeemable factors, even though it has really irredeemable factors at the same time. People say that Star Wars The Phantom Menace is the worst Star Wars. It is not. The worst Star Wars is Episode 2. The second to worst is Episode 9. And then it's The Phantom Menace. I think The Phantom Menace might have been the biggest disappointment of all the Star Wars, but it set the new bar for disappointing. It has so much more redeemable qualities than episode 2, in my opinion. Obviously, this is just my opinion. We can all disagree, and that's fine. We can still love Star Wars and also make fun of it. It's like, it's like your family. You can make fun of your family, but no one else can. Try to make fun of my family, I'll punch you in the nose. I'll bop you on the head. Let's see what's trending. So remember to subscribe, check out the Discord. The Discord we drop different links in there, and we talk about different things in there. How you guys feeling? How's your situation respectively to where you are at? What are you guys up to? I'd like to understand the daily routine of y'all. I'm thinking of maybe moving the time of the show because I'm trying to think about, it might be interesting for me to go out during the day. Not like go out and do things, but maybe go for drives and actually get some chores done. And maybe go for walks. I'm considering this. Maybe moving the show to a later time in the day, maybe 6 p.m. So it'd be 6 hours from now, which would be like the middle of the night for some of you. So I don't know if that's all that accommodating, but I might change it up. We'll see. Let's see what's going on in here. Oh, the president. Ron, what's up? Yes, Disney killed Star Wars, but so did the toxic fandom. Yeah, Ron, I think it's interesting how you bring up the fandom too, because if you buy a franchise like Star Wars, if you are Disney and you have the ability to do so, which now Disney owns like all of the most powerful movie franchises, Marvel, Star Wars, or just all of Lucasfilms. Disney owns all of Lucasfilms movies. If you've got that power, you kind of don't want to make a false move. And Disney plays it safe so much. Disney likes to play by the rule book. They like to make everything PG. They like to make everything... Like, they took the F words out of Hamilton. Because it's Disney. There are F words in the Hamilton play, but they took them out. They edited them out. It's kind of nutty. And, your son called from his own phone today. That's progress. Almost home. Yeah, that's right. Where's your son, you said, is coming home for the first time since last year, and it's just a totally different world that we're living in, isn't it? I was just talking about Disney, and if you have the ability to acquire a franchise like Star Wars, you're going to be like, hey, I want this, I want to do this right, I want to play this perfectly. However, Disney has a lot of guidelines that I think conflict with Star Wars. I think Disney's like, we want to make sure that this gets to the biggest audience possible. Where George Lucas was just like, I like this idea. Let me make this idea. I don't care if the prequels don't appeal to some people. You got to respect George Lucas. You got to respect George Lucas. And I say that because that's my opinion. In my opinion, you got to respect George Lucas because think about the prequels. We may not like them, but it's still a vision that this guy had. And the guy just followed his vision, and he said, this is what I want Star Wars to be. And we said, all right, I respect that. I disagree with, I don't really like some of these ideas, but some of these ideas are still, you're still a genius, George Lucas, for all of these ideas that are in these movies. You're still an incredible, top-level filmmaking genius, and we respect you. Isn't that funny? Even though he kind of blundered with those prequels, in my opinion, even though it was a massive fail, in my opinion, even though George Lucas completely biffed, landed on his face, and wiped out with those prequels, in my opinion, even though George Lucas buried himself alive, set himself on fire, threw himself in a dumpster, drowned in a sewer, and got stepped on by Godzilla by those prequels, you know, we still respect him. We still respect George Lucas. George Lucas is the founding father of Star Wars. Disney was like, this is our idea of Star Wars. And the fans, the toxic fandom, you're right, Ron, really, really took away from it, because I feel like Disney got into a situation where they were trying to please all the people all of the time, and you can't do that. George Lucas said, I'm going to make the movies that I want to make, regardless of what people think. Disney was like, I want to make all of the Star Wars that everybody loves all of the time, and you can't do that. It's gonna fall apart on yourself. And so they created a sequel trilogy that just conflicts with itself continuously. I feel like you've got The Force Awakens, which rehashes and reintroduces us into the Star Wars world, and you're like, okay, fine, serviceable. And then you've got The Last Jedi, which really just takes the whole thing in a new direction and allows us to go, okay, now Star Wars is an open world. So by nature, it conflicts with all of our expectations that were set up by The Force Awakens, and it moves left turn. And then, for some reason, for the very reason that Ron brings up, the toxic fandom, people got upset that the movie didn't do what they expected it to do because, hey, singular vision, ideas that conflict with what your expectations are, that's okay. It's allowed. Episode 9 came out and was just like, all right, I'm sorry. We're just gonna give you everything you wanted in one movie. We're gonna smush it. We're gonna put Star Wars into a paper shredder. We're going to put Star Wars into a money cannon and shoot it at you in your face. Oh, that's right. Ron Perty brings up Deadpool. Deadpool is going to be all of the PG-13 version, like they re-edited Deadpool 2. I still haven't watched that version of Deadpool 2 where it's like The Princess Bride with Fred Savage. I want to watch that, where they edit out all the dirty stuff. I can't wait to see that, actually. At least prequels are something different. Not good, but different. Yeah, Ron, I agree. Lori3040 says, they're making everyone on the ship wear masks to get everyone used to wearing them before they get off the ship. That's actually an interesting... that's what I'm thinking about this pandemic in general, is like people take a while. It takes a while for people to become accustomed to a new thing. So I think it's really important that... I get frustrated because I think if we had effective leadership and the leader was like, of this country, of all the different countries, we're like, hey, everybody, this is going to suck. This is going to be really tough for a while, though. We just have to cover this portion of our face and stay 6 feet away, and we're all going to do it because we're Americans, damn it. We're all going to do it because we have overcome so many things in this world. We've overcome polio. We fought World War II. We can come together to overcome this. If we had a central figure saying that continually all of the time instead of conflicting messages, I think people they'd be wearing the masks more readily. However, there's so much resistance to it because for some odd reason they think it's a political situation, and it's just not. If you went into the baby area of the hospital, the nursery area of a hospital, you'd wear a mask, and you wouldn't question why you would need to wear a mask. You would just wear one. So in the situation where you could potentially infect people with illness, just wear a mask. It's not anything to do with your rights. It has everything to do with civility and common decency. Disney Star Wars was disappointing, never got to go on their rides, says Lori3040. Yeah, I never got to go on the ride. My friend David, who I'd like to have on the show at some point, I got to talk to him about that. My buddy David told me about, he wrote up a whole thing when he went to the Star Wars world at Disneyland a couple years ago. And he was just like, Disney tried to just hijack Star Wars and create a new everything for Star Wars. It wasn't a nostalgic romp through the Star Wars, he was saying. It was just all of this stuff that they were trying to create, like new lore for Star Wars. So he was walking through the Star Wars land at Disneyland, and the stormtroopers were saying like, "Hail something something." They were saying weird phrases that aren't in the movies. They were going to different parts of Star Wars world that weren't in the movies. It's like they didn't even have the cantina, apparently, or the cantina bar. It seems to me that if you're taking a very recognizable movie franchise and you're creating a world about it, you would use the different scenes from the movies to help create an experience of immersion. However, Disney was like, hey, we know better. Why don't we come up with ideas that are just not in the movies at all so that we could try to corral people into the future of Star Wars, into our vision of Star Wars, instead of just going, no, people are coming to this because they like the movies, so why don't you have it like they're actually walking through the movie? But they apparently the first go around, the initial opening of the Star Wars land at Disney's were just really kind of an epic fail because people just were like, I don't recognize any of this from the movies. I don't know what this is. This feels like it could be any generic Star space movie that I'm walking through. Yeah, Ron, every other country is laughing at us. It's true. You know, Ron, you said it. You said it there. I do mean like someone like Obama. No, I'm not going to sit here and be like, y'all should be, you know, this, it's divisive. You bring up politicians like Obama versus Trump, and you go, people are going to think it's like super political. And I just want to point out that even George W. Bush did this. George W. Bush, even if you're a Republican and you like Republicans and you like Trump because he says he's a Republican, then I don't know how to fix your brain because it's broken. You got a bad brain. But if you remember, even W would come together and try to help the American people come together. I've got like a credit card here. They'd help the American people come together over things. Like that was like, he said, come together over me. He said, here go my old flat top. He come rolling up slowly. Talking about Iraq. He guided us into terrible wars that we're still fighting, and people are dying every day, still in 2 wars that were unjust. But he still tried to get people to come together. He still tried to be a leader. Tried, I say. But I think it's important to have a leader who can take a complex issue, break it down, and make it digestible for all of the people to understand the complexities of it. Not one who just tries to divide everybody. Currently, the president that we have, it's like the opposite of the Dark Knight. He's not the president we want, nor is he the one we need right now. I would just say that he really likes to make people think that it's us versus them when we're all Americans here. We're all trying to get through this situation. It's not an us versus them. It's an us helping us. It's us helping them. So wear your mask. It's really simple. It's not. It's a sign of respect. If we really encourage the idea that wearing a mask is a sign of respect because you are saying, I'd like to contain my germs. I'd like to contain my germs and not spread them to you. I am showing deference and respect for you, my fellow citizen and human being. If that was like the message that was hammered home, a lot of scientists and doctors are saying this would be over in 4 to 6 weeks if we all diligently and religiously socially distanced, wash our hands, and wore masks. If we all did that, and I know some people, I don't know, I wonder if it's like some people are just like, well, other people are doing it, so I don't have to. That's the epic fail right there. That's the epic hole in the logic. Saying, well, so many people are doing it, therefore I don't have to. It's like, no, you're propagating the problem. You're part of the problem, as Dr. Fauci, Baby Yoda Fauci says.
You're part of if you're not wearing a mask, you are part of the problem. It's very true. It's like, it's as if you're on the dark side, and right now we need to restore balance. And I don't know what that means. I mean, I guess that means the light side. What does balance in the Force mean? We never even got to understand that in episode 9, did we? What is restoring balance? We kind of undid the entire Skywalker saga. Guys, go read the original screenplay that Colin Trevorrow wrote for episode 9 because it's way better than the movie that we got.
All right. Yeah, Ron. Talk about John McCain. John McCain was a leader, indeed. I'll tell you, John McCain is an American hero. Rest in peace. I salute that man. Everything up until his choice to pick Sarah Palin as a running mate was a pretty smart move. See, that was an instance where John McCain was like pressured by the GOP because the GOP is like, they got a black guy as president. What can we do? Just pick I guess we should get like a woman, I guess. I don't know. Just pick any old woman. Just pick as long as they're a woman, I think we're good. They didn't think to get someone who was qualified or smart or anything. They just were like, woman, right? Not very smart. Veronica says, in a lot of states it's becoming executive orders, but even that people are like saying, make me. Yeah, come at me, bro. I would love to see them just start handing out tickets for not wearing a mask. I would love it. Just imagine how much money people would get and how much money people, like, if you lost $1,000 because you weren't wearing a damn thing over your face. I mean, there's going to be a lot of like lawsuits because of it, but just the idea of just being like, here's a public health ticket. This is going to cost you money, but it's going to cost society a lot less for having someone die because of your irresponsibility. Later, Jimmy James. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow on the Aristotle Full Throttles. We've only got a few minutes left here on Instagram, but if you want to jump over to twitch.tv/Aristotle Full Throttle, we can continue the conversation. Well, that is, yeah. Ron says he doesn't like the fact that the spike's going up because people aren't wearing masks, and it would be terrible to see anybody's family members suffering because of the irresponsibility of others. People are like, well, the people who are in high-risk groups should stay home. No. See, that's not how it works, guys. If you are in a low-risk group and you go out and you continue to perpetuate the virus, you're giving the virus more opportunity to get to the people who are vulnerable and staying home. You're giving the virus a ride to those people. So y'all have to realize that. You're just an Uber ride for the virus to get to the people who are vulnerable. So everyone has to lock down. Everyone, or just be safe about it. Be smart about it. You don't have to lock down. That's what we did, and it helped. The lockdown helped. But now people are just willy-nilly. There's no rules. But you know what hasn't changed? The washing of the hands, the staying 6 feet apart, and covering your face. I'm just going to keep repeating it because this is kind of a weird diary. It's a daily diary of what did you do during coronavirus? And thankfully, we all have this record that we're creating of what we did during coronavirus, which was chat about movies and have a good time, like we do every day at noon on Aristotle Full Throttle. Star Wars. You know what I would have liked to have seen, and it would have been eerily strange to have that been the premise. Instead of another massive weapon like a Death Star, or a Death Star per every starship, every Star Destroyer in Episode 9, I would have liked to have seen some kind of weird biological warfare that was spreading across the galaxy. Why not that? Why not something that infects Force users and kills them? Find out that there are random Force users in the galaxy, and then those random Force users are being infected by some kind of mind control device or something. I don't know. Just get away from the Death Star trope. We're just like Han Solo says in The Force Awakens, so it's bigger. That was all it was. See you guys tomorrow on Instagram. What do you guys think about that idea? Some kind of space biological warfare or some kind of rising the force. Well, the Force awakened in the Force Awakens. Imagine the next two movies where the idea that the dark side was doing a massive imbalance in the Force. I would have liked that. Lori 3040 asks, what was the beach like? Mask and distance were in effect. The beach I go to, Lori 3040, fortunately, I only saw about 6 other people at the beach, and everybody's far, far apart. And I wore my mask all the way up until I set down my little sheet, which was, I didn't have anyone around me for like hundreds of feet. So it was just super low risk. It was good. This is this particular beach that I go to up in, I drive an hour away because I don't want to go. You've seen the pictures of Huntington Beach. You saw people just like all hanging out next to each other. No. If you could see from the photo I put in the Discord, there's nobody around me for like hundreds of feet on either side of me. Like you'd have to walk for 2 minutes to get to the next person. So that was like really, that's how I roll during a pandemic. I want to make sure that I'm not putting anyone else at risk and I'm not putting myself at risk because nobody knows how it can affect you. And I'm wondering, Grant Imahara died of an aneurysm, and they're saying that coronavirus causes a lot of it causes a lot of vascular problems. And I'm curious as to see if the aneurysm was caused by something like that. Yeah, K-Ferg. I was thinking that the Force Awakens insinuated that this is what K-Ferg says, that Force users were coming, not just one. Yeah. I'm with you on that, K-Ferg. I thought it would be interesting. Guys, remember, the original marketing of the Force Awakens, they showed a lot of John Boyega wielding that purple lightsaber. That was a lot of the imagery we saw going into that movie going, oh, John Boyega, oh, snap, he's going to be a Force user. He's going to use a lightsaber. He does use a lightsaber in The Force Awakens. However, it's not really revealed until maybe episode 9, maybe, that he's a Force user, but it's never confirmed in the movie. He's just like, I got to tell Rey something. And then the whole movie, he's like, Rey, I have to tell you something. And then Rey's like, what do you got to tell me? He's like, oh, I forgot. What were we talking about? I don't remember. What did it have to do with Rey? Do you remember like where we were? What were we talking about, Rey? Maybe we were... Nah, I don't remember. Anyway, way to destroy the Empire. I didn't think that movie was good. Star Wars Episode 9 is how you say terrible. Yep, we could always be Florida. But though California is actually, we're not super great. It's a mixed bag here. It is a mixed bag of cats here in California. Yeah, something about blood clots and I just know, K-Ferg, that they were saying that coronavirus has maybe some surprising effects on the vascular system. So an aneurysm or something like that, or an embolism or whatever you want to call, whatever vascular situation you have going on, I don't know. I wouldn't be too surprised if they said, hey, Grant actually had asymptomatic coronavirus, COVID-19, a while ago. They knew. And then that's what caught up to him in some way. You know, I got tested for it. I was negative. I got tested for antibodies, sadly negative. But there are some breakthroughs happening in the vaccine research. So that's good. Apparently all 40 or so of the vaccine trial folks have developed antibodies and T cells for the coronavirus, meaning long-term resistance to the coronavirus. So maybe there's some good things in store for us. K-Ferg, I feel you. Your daughter, K-Ferg says his daughter is asthmatic, so you're concerned. You have good reason to be concerned. And from what I've seen, you're a good father and a good family man, so I'm certain you're protecting your family's welfare. And that's all we can do right now. All we can do is be considerate of others and protect our own. It's the best we can do. And my parents both had COVID-19. They had it in March or April. And it was really scary for a few days there because they were, they were sick. They had the COVIDs. And I was checking in on them, making sure that they were doing all the things they needed to do to stave off pneumonia. And then they recovered, but who knows what the recovery means, because we're seeing longer term effects of this illness on people. But I was super frightened for my parents getting it. And of course, they're in New York. They got it. They caught it. My brother's girlfriend's father unfortunately passed away last week from COVID-19. I haven't mentioned that. They're still dealing with that, but he was on a respirator since March. And then he finally passed away. I mean, it's insane, guys. It's going to get to a point where everybody knows somebody who passes away from COVID-19. And it doesn't have to get to that point, but it's getting to that point. People don't understand or appreciate something like this until it happens to them personally. That's why it's interesting that the governor of, I think, Utah or wherever, Oklahoma, he has COVID-19. Bolsonaro, the president or dictator, whatever you want to say, of Brazil, has COVID-19. They're sitting there trying to downplay it, and then they catch it. They're saying, oh, don't wear a mask, and then they catch it. It's I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about it. It's just it's not a good thing that we're. I don't know. I was watching a couple people walk down the street the other day, and they were just kind of like twirling their masks around their fingers and all walking in a group, just thinking like. In their minds, they might think that that's fine. That they're like, well, we're outside, but they were clustered together, walking in a group, twirling their masks, going. And I'm just like, if this is how we do things here, you know what I always say? If the immediate sign of COVID-19 was you just had explosive diarrhea and projectile vomiting within a day of being exposed to it, this would be a whole different picture, wouldn't it? People would stay the F home. If it spread the exact same way that it does, but the symptoms were like incredibly severe like that, like you just immediately and involuntarily crap your pants, that would change people's behavior, I think. But unfortunately, this thing is insidious, and it slowly slithers across the population, and it kills people seemingly randomly. Because it doesn't matter. You could be in your 30s. There's someone who was in their 30s who went to a COVID party the other day, and then they died 2 weeks later. What are we going to do? What was that? Shai says, didn't finish my sentence. Your Chinese friends will help you find Lianhua Qingwen capsules. Yes. That's probably, I mean, a lot of Chinese medicine dates back 10,000 years or so. And I always say if something is around a really long time and seems to be working, give it a good old clinical trial. See how that works. For the COVIDs. Lori says, I block people who have posted anti-mask posts. They are stupid comments and they make it political. Yeah, it's weird how we're in a situation where everything has to become political. It doesn't have to be. If we were to come together as a people, we could understand that we need to save the populace so that we can continue to argue about politics, but we don't. We just say, air. You breathe air. You know what? Anyone who's ever breathed air died. So air, it's bad. You're an air supporter, aren't you? I bet you breathe air every day. Freaking Democrat. I don't understand how that logic works. Some people don't care about logic. You know what I've noticed in life? We're gonna bring things down a little bit, slow it down. You know what I noticed in life? Some people aren't concerned with looking inward. Some people aren't concerned with facts. They're more concerned about behaving in accordance to how they're feeling. Even if they're feeling, their feelings are valid because they're happening and those feelings are existing. But are those feelings appropriate for the situation? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Should I feel like punching this person in the face? Should I do that? There should be a step in between. But some people they feel justified in their behavior just because of the feeling. You can't go to court and be like, now I've unfortunately had to deal with this in previous relationships. Sorry, in a previous relationship. But dealing with someone on a close level where they're like, I did this act of violence or I did this act of abuse toward you or someone because I felt angry. That's not a good defense to defend your behavior. A lot of people think that if they act in a certain way, that it's justified because they were feeling a certain way. And that's not true. You can't go to court and be like, listen, judge, I shot him in the knee because he was pissing me off. Set me free. Well, what did he do to piss you off? He said that my mama was ugly. So I shot him in the knee. Well, you realize he just used words, right? And you used a gun. Yeah, but judge, I was mad. So the point of me saying all this is that some people just think it's okay to do things based on their emotions instead of really assess what they're feeling and whether or not their reaction is appropriate for the situation. People need to look inward and be less reactionary. But the problem with a lot of I agree with you, Shy. You just said that. The feelings are valid, but doesn't necessarily mean your feelings are accurate. Yeah. That's why we should always take pause when we are feeling an extreme emotion and say, okay, I'm feeling a certain way. Let me breathe through this and let me figure out what is the appropriate course of action here. It's a really hard thing to do sometimes because sometimes you just want to be like, F off. Sometimes you just want to shoot someone in the knee. But sometimes, yeah. It does feel like a scrimmage, Candyland. I feel like it's a big game to be another pandemic and fallout from global warming, and there's going to be goofing off. Yeah, could you imagine how lax we are on global warming when we have an immediate threat of the pandemic? Global warming is a little bit more gradual than this pandemic, which is running rampant. We're not staving this off. It is increasing by the day. It is increasing by the day. It is worse now than it has been this whole time. Today is the worst day of the pandemic. And you know what the last worst day was? Yesterday. And you know what the last worst day was? The day before that. So this is and guess what? I'm going to make a prediction. Tomorrow will be the worst day of this pandemic. So people aren't really getting it. It's fine. It's okay. It's totally fine. Good golly. Yeah. It feels like a scrimmage. People are not doing the things they need to do. They think they're doing it. I think there's a misalignment. There's people's behaviors and reactions and actions during this time that aren't necessarily lining up with logic. But people, I think, feel justified in their actions always. I think that's the overall message I'm trying to say here. Everyone feels like their actions ought to be justified. I think that's a universal thing. But what we need to do is realize that sometimes our actions are not justified. Our feelings are always valid because that's what we're experiencing. That's our experience. Our actions are not always justified. Just because you're feeling a certain way, I don't feel like I should wear a mask, so I won't. No, your action is not justified. Your feeling, totally valid. I don't feel like wearing a mask, but I'm gonna. This is really It's okay to have two things exist in your mind at once. Cognitive dissonance. I don't like the idea of a mask. I think it's an infringement on my rights. Okay, cool. Wear a mask, you idiot. Anyway. I got it. I just got to keep on banging that drum. K-Ferg says you're reminded of the scene in T2 where John is taking Arnie to while watching the kids. We're not going to make it, are we? Yeah. Yeah, K-Ferg. I had that moment about a month or two ago. That's when I stopped being like super anxious about people not caring about one another. I was like, oh no. I guess this is teasing out. It's just teasing out of society the truth about society and how people really feel. Oh, so when it comes down to it, people don't give a crap about their fellow human. I guess that's what it comes down to, doesn't it? It's very bleak and sad to think about. It's glib. It's cynical. But I don't think it's entirely true. I think people like you, people like me, anybody wearing a mask is doing the least possible thing they can possibly do. Lori 3040. See, we're protecting people like Lori 3040 who has asthma and a compromised autoimmune disorder. Yeah, just think about the people in your life. Just think about, and stop thinking about just yourself. Think about the people in your life, and then think about the people in their lives, because that's your sphere. That's your sphere of influence, particularly with an airborne illness. Yeah, I bet the Chinese government is feeling pretty justified in the measures they take looking at how we act. Yeah, it's kind of weird. The Chinese government, it was way on the extreme side with dealing with this. Way extreme. Literally, I remember seeing them throwing people into boxes who were heard coughing and reported to the authorities by their neighbors. Getting thrown into boxes and taken out of their homes. Yeah, we don't do that here. I think we would have enough compliance. I mean, you would imagine that Americans, given good leadership and effective leadership, would be behaving on such a... If the president of the United States is holding rallies where masks are not mandatory and social distancing is not mandatory, it shows you that there is a disconnect between the science and the messaging. Major disconnect. Big mistake. Huge mistake. So did Disney destroy Star Wars? Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Maybe it'll be reinvented in the next few years. I would like to see Rey come back in like 10 years. I would like to see a new trilogy with Rey being the wiser older Jedi. That would be cool. What you guys think about that? I would like to see that. She's a part of the family now, forever. Rey, Finn and Poe. They're part of the Star Wars family. And I'd like to see Rey be the mentor. She's going to be the Leia in 10, 15 years when they do a new trilogy. Episodes 10, 11, 12. You think they should do a new trilogy or just end it? Just end it. Just give them a lightsaber. To just end it. Anyway, guys. I'm going to head out. I'm going to go for a walk with a mask on. Socially distanced. By myself. And I'm going to run around the people that I encounter. Because I don't want to catch or spread a potentially deadly virus. It's weird to say that. It's weird that we live in a world where I have to say that. But this is the daily diary. The daily dose of Aristotle Full Throttle. Well, Shai says it would have been nice if Rey wasn't all powerful. Thank you, Lori 3040. I hope the audition went well too. I think Rey, I don't know. Yeah, I see what you're saying. See you later, Angie. We're winding down here. The Mandalorian is good. I would like to see what the Mandalorian... K-Ferg asks about the Mandalorian. I think that's the best thing to happen to Star Wars since Return of the Jedi. I feel like if I were to just boil it down, I'd say, yeah, watch the original trilogy and The Mandalorian and the Ewok Adventure and the Battle for Endor, and that's it, and we're good. And we're good. Those are the best things to happen to, well, maybe not the Ewok Adventure, but you know what I'm talking about. Star Wars still has enough energy to move forward, I think. Yeah, maybe if they cut Rey off to the Force. I would have liked to have seen Rey turn evil for half of the next Star Wars, because apparently Rey was being fought over by the light side and the dark side, it seemed, because she was so readily available for the dark side. Remember when she went down into that pit and she just went straight for it when she was training with Luke, and Luke was like, wow, you didn't even try to fight it off. What the hell's wrong with you? That's the dark side, yo. Don't even try it. She was like, oh, well, you know, I liked it. Seemed pretty cool. I'll be a dark side user if I need to be. Would have been interesting to see her turn bad and then have Kylo Ben turn her back to good. Sort of a reversal of what was going on in the original trilogy. But I don't know. I think we got to give it a minute. Give Star Wars a minute. And then come back when it's exciting again. Because I think coming out with a Star Wars movie every year for 5 years got a little tedious. And we were just like, eh. By the 5th Star Wars movie that came out, Rogue One, the trilogy, Solo, we were just like, okay, I got enough. I'm full. The thing about the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy is they came out every 3 years, so it was enough time to build up your anticipation and excitement again. I wouldn't say that we should come out with them every 3 years again, maybe every 2 years because of attention span differences, but I think we should wait another few years before another Star Wars movie comes out. And they need to, I don't know. I'm no Hollywood producer. I'm just a fan. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Winding down. I hope you have a safe day. I'm ready for a nap. I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you have any suggestions for a topic that you'd like to discuss, let me know in the Discord. I've sent out the Discord link. Y'all can hop into the Discord and continue the chat all day and all night. I'd love to know what you guys think. Some days are better than others, but you know what? Consistency is key. So let's show up every day. Let's do the things we need to do every day. Consistency is key. Wear your mask as much as possible. 100% of the time if you can. Stay distant if you can. Just do the things. Consistency is key. That's what we learned today on Aristotle Full Throttle. We learn something new every day, don't we? Or at least we learn to appreciate something new every day. Or at least we reinforce something that we've already known. And every iteration therein. Thank you guys so much. I'm Aristotle Full Throttle. Your bro in the know with the fro. And I'll see you later.